don't understand as much as Russia. It's called China. We don't understand China at all. We think that China is a weak nation. We think China can be intimidated. We think China's economy is not as strong as the Chinese like to believe it is, even though over the past 15 years, China has 3 successive 5-year plans that have brought 300 million people out of poverty into the middle class. Hell, we got 300,000 people, or 300 million people in America, and we can't get half that number out of poverty. And yet we have the superior economy? No. The Chinese are serious. The other thing the Chinese have been doing is the same thing Russia's did. Watching us, listening to us, observing us, studying us. And they built a military that is impressive indeed. It's not combat tested, because the Chinese are pretty smart. They don't go to war. They believe in a strong economy. They believe that if you don't go to war, you have more money to spend on high-speed trains, good infrastructure, bridges. They're not perfect. No one's perfect. I'm not sitting here saying that I want to live in China. I don't. I want to live in this country. I would just like us to do half the things in infrastructure that maybe the Chinese have been doing. Maybe my roads won't have potholes. Maybe my trains will run on time. Maybe the subway station, I'm not threatened to die every time I step in by concrete falling off the roof. These would be nice things to have. But the other thing that the Chinese are doing is they're serious. It's just like Putin don't bluff. I mean, that's one big lesson to take away from this thing. Putin don't bluff. When Putin says he's going to do something, he's going to do it. And I think he's proven that. So when Medvedev says we're going to strike decision centers, that's Putin speaking. They don't bluff. They're going to strike decision centers. And then we're going to deal with the consequences. China has said, if you act in a manner which indicates that Taiwan is pursuing a path towards independence, that Taiwan is no longer accepting that it is part of China, that if you seek to improve the military of Taiwan so they are emboldened into believing that they can actually withdraw and withstand a Chinese counterstrike, then we have no choice but to pursue non-peaceful means of unifying Taiwan. They didn't just make this up. I mean, we have this way of thinking in America where we say the Russians and Chinese are very impulsive people, very impulsive. They just knee-jerk reaction to everything. Putin's been saying this stuff about NATO and stuff since 2000, 2001. It came to the forefront in 2007 at the Munich Security Conference. It's repeated over and over again. There's nothing new about this. China in 2005 passed a law, the anti-succession law. It's linked to their constitution, and it basically says that if Taiwan, that the policy of China is the peaceful reunification of Taiwan. That's what they want. And they're willing to bend over backwards to make this happen and be as patient and wait as long as possible. But the moment Taiwan starts to act in a manner that looks as though they're going to be independent, it will be instantaneous. China will go in there and they will crush them. Well, what has happened in the last couple of days, ladies and gentlemen? We have the President of the United States traveling to Asia, where someone says, if China attacks Taiwan, what will America's policy be? Well, we'll defend them. But what happened to our policy of strategic ambiguity, where we were pretending that we weren't going to defend them, so we mollified the Chinese so that the Taiwanese wouldn't act impulsively? That's out the window. But that's okay, that's just words. Words mean nothing. But then Tammy Duckworth shows up in Taiwan. She's sponsoring a bill that promises a couple things. One, to put pre-positioned military hardware on the soil in Taiwan so that American troops can fly in and marry up with this equipment so we can rapidly come to the defense. This will never happen, ladies and gentlemen. Why? Because China will invade Taiwan. China will invade Taiwan sooner rather than later. We're not only in danger of getting involved in a war in Europe that we can't win, we're in danger of promulgating a conflict in the Pacific we can't win. That's a two-front war that we can't win. We can't win it. So why are we doing it? Because we have a commander-in-chief whose mouth has no checks and balances. We have a population which has been made stupid, I guess, is the most polite word I can, from exposure to a media that's no longer in the business of informing the American people, but entertaining the American people. You remember that old line, if it bleeds, it leads? Nothing bleeds more than war. There's nothing the mass media likes more than a war that they can put out there every day, change the narrative, make it horrible, and the American people tune in like the compliant little brain dead people they are, and they just eat it up. Because other people are dying. Because the Ukrainians are dying. Because the Taiwanese are going to be dying. But let me just give you a news flash. When we go to war against Russia, and we go to war against China, we're going to be dying. And it's not going to be in small numbers. This isn't Afghanistan. This isn't Iraq. This isn't where a bad week was 7 Americans dying. This is where a bad hour is 5,000 Americans dying. This is where a bad day is 15,000, 20,000 Americans dying. This is where a bad week is 60 to 80,000 Americans dying. In conflicts, we can't win unless we go nuclear. And then nobody wins. Everybody loses. Joe Biden, your ego and your mouth are writing checks the American body can't cash. Thank you very much.